I don't have friends. I got family.
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 Said Han was family.
Disrespecting my whole family.
All right, welcome back to the Unnamed Movie Car Podcast. Probably one of our latest recordings to date.
Well, late at night, that is.
Late at night. It's like 10:05 p.m.
in the Midwest. And it gets dark here at about 4:30 p.m.
True.
So, yeah, it's the middle of the
But
winter.
also the Midwest doesn't matter at all because this is a podcast.
Oh, that's right. And we're actually not.
And recording at you live from Los Angeles, California.
Again.
So we're doing Fast and Furious. Just Fast and Furious.
That's
which is
it.
the
It's
fourth
just
installment.
the only the title is just Fast and Furious.
The first one is The Fast and the Furious.
Right.
Now the fourth one is just Fast and Furious.
Right. Exactly.
Which made researching this film terrible. Because any search engine also recognizes that all of the other ones have Fast and Furious in it. And it kept trying to tell me stuff about the first movie, The Fast and the Furious, because it thought I was just, whatever, short typing it or whatever. So already right off the bat, dumb name for the movie, but we are continuing our Fast February. So if you missed last week's episode, that was Tokyo Drift, the third installment. Next week will be Fast 5, and then whatever the sixth one is called, Furious 6.
No idea.
We have accidentally
fallen into a wormhole?
We've accidentally done a month of Justin Lin movies.
Oh, really?
So Justin Lin started with Tokyo Drift. And he did Tokyo Drift up through 6.
Yeah, he did.
Did not do 7 or 8, but came back for 9.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay,
we are perfectly hitting a
we
Justin
knew that.
Lin
We
saga.
totally planned that.
Yeah.
We completely planned that. Absolutely planned Justin
I just
Lin.
realized. I totally forgot. I went to the dollar store today. Shout out Dollar Tree, although they raised their prices to $1.25.
The $1.25 store. That's what I'm going to open up a
$5 store.
But who else gets away with raising every item in the store by 25%?
Yeah,
every item.
It's pretty crazy.
That's
but
what's wrong with America?
I did buy a movie from a car movie from
did?
the dollar store. I
Did
actually
you get
went.
it?
Yeah,
Okay.
I went to the dollar store a town
good.
over. Because I went there with my girlfriend.
By the way, we're surrounded by dollar stores.
There's a lot of them.
Yeah.
So I went a town over, not even like the top 5 closest stores. And I was there with my girlfriend, and I didn't pick up this movie, and I thought about it, and I was like, it's $1.25. I definitely should. So I went back. I got Mom some stuff for her work.
Oh, good. Excellent.
Those, the bow stuff.
Thing
and then,
stuff, Stuff and
I
things.
got the movie. So
awesome.
At some point in the future, it's
going to raise its ugly head, and we're going to
Yeah.
have to watch it. Now, we've been trying to do, at least for this month, give you some halfway decent movies to watch and to that we've been talking about. So the Fast and Furious franchise is exactly the FFF for February.
Fast and Furious February
is good. So
so we're actually doing some big names. I know we typically, I think we sort of gravitate towards the oddballs.
we do.
Because I think we definitely want to bring you interesting things, but also I don't know, I feel like everyone has their take on Gone in 60 Seconds, and everyone has their take on Bullet, which is one that we definitely will do eventually.
Someday.
But,
I don't know. We'll do it. But
we also don't want to get to episode 100 and then be out of all of the good car movies, and then just from episode 100 onward is just going to be flat line.
Just nothing.
Yeah.
Just a bunch of blood car movies. That's it.
Oh, God.
I
was thinking the other day, should we re-review Ghostbusters when it hits DVD?
We can.
We can rewatch it and make it an actual episode instead of a in-car?
Yeah, you know what? I think that would be good, because by then we'll have enough stuff and we can actually go back and look at it and pause and freeze frame and do all the stuff you can't do in the theater. It was fun to get our first reaction in the car.
Yeah.
And I think that was really our first video, wasn't it? Or was no?
We technically shot the Lego one first.
Right. Yes, that's true.
But the Ghostbusters one came out first. So it's a whole mess.
It's a parallel universe of just craziness. And shout out to our sponsor, water. What's the water?
Oh, I'm drinking Liquid IV. That's,
Liquid
if
IV.
you heard me drinking, that's what I'm drinking.
We don't have a sponsorship by Liquid IV, but we should, because you get crates shipped
I get
to you.
Almost literal crates.
Yeah.
Like
Liquid
this
IV.
is the first time.
Shout out to Liquid IV.
Liquid IV. This is not a sponsorship, by the way.
Right, exactly. But we like it. We're fans.
This is the first time with a product I've ever, like, when I see that they announce a new flavor, I genuinely get excited and order it immediately.
Wow.
I've tried every flavor of Liquid IV available right now, and I have 2 limited editions coming in the mail.
Wow. Wow, that's pretty awesome.
But here's the thing is that, like, I feel like it's an investment in myself.
It is.
Because I need to drink more water. I have kidney stones. You have kidney stones. You're battling a kidney
I'm
stone
actually
right now.
passing a kidney stone as we speak. No
He's
kidding.
actually, we're actually filming in the bathroom. He's actually passing it. And wait,
no, it's not.
Wait, ready? Ding. There it is. Wow, there it is, live on the podcast.
I actually have a hotline into my
We have a kidney microphone set up.
That is exactly what my kidney sounds like, and the kidney stone is it's not a fun thing. Luckily, at this point, there's not any pain, obviously, or I'm on heavy medication. One of the two.
Yeah, one of the two.
But no, I'm not in pain right now. When it moves around, I am. I'm in tremendous pain, and literally, I was on the floor the other night. But here's the reason why I didn't go to the hospital. Okay, the hospital's full because of COVID.
Yeah.
Literally, I just found out from Mom, your mom, my wife, and just going to clarify that. Clarify. The 98%, no kidding, 98% of the beds are filled. Yeah. So there's like no room at the inn. Yeah. So no mas. And so I was like, well, I'm not going in there. I'll just
I don't blame you on that one. I have a work trip coming up. Actually,
okay. All right.
To Florida.
Oh, to Florida.
The first week of February.
That's wonderful.
Although I'm only going to be interacting with one person.
Okay.
Because I'm going down to film a collection of cars.
Oh,
hopefully.
Cool. That's cool.
I don't want to jinx anything.
Yeah.
But it's not gonna. I'm not gonna go to bars. I'm not gonna go to restaurants.
You better not, young man.
Well, it wouldn't be any different than me working with a client here.
I'm kidding. I'm pulling the dad card. That's what I have to say. The pops card.
But,
I have to do that.
God.
Oh, you young man. You kids and your rock and roll and whatever.
The hospitals are overran. And
they are.
It's no good right now. But anyway.
So shout outs to Paul Shin.
Craig Lieberman.
But Craig Lieberman.
I don't know. I didn't look it up. I'm sorry. I didn't look it up.
I don't know if Craig Lieberman had anything to do with this movie, but
I should have.
Maybe if at some point I can dig in here.
Oh, for your phone? Yeah.
Trying to find it in my pocket is difficult. I'm an old man, so you got to remember that.
But yeah, I'm trying to think of what else there is before, because we're still waiting.
We're still waiting. We got 2 minutes
to announce that.
What's that?
Oh, we wait 10 minutes for spoilers.
That's right.
So if this is your first episode listening,
then we're
Why
sorry.
are these guys talking about literally nothing? We wait 10 minutes to go spoiler free, just in case anyone wants to make up their mind.
We do it for you. We do it for you. It's all
for you.
For you. I don't know. I don't even
Honestly,
know
though, this podcast is really for us.
It is.
It's really not for anyone else. We appreciate the listeners.
Right. But we would never talk to each other, ever.
Yeah. This is honestly the most we talk to each other.
It's father and son. That's it. You're hearing everything that we talk about. Yeah, that's
I'm trying to think if anything else I wanted to discuss. Not really.
Yeah,
can you teach me how to fly the drone?
Yes.
Some point soon?
Yes.
Because there's something I want to go back in Illinois.
Mm-hmm.
There's a place called Volvo Island. Have you ever heard of this?
No.
So an hour south of the city in Ottawa, Illinois, there's a place called Volvo Island.
Okay.
So back in 2012, I was just doing research on this 20 minutes ago because I want to go do it.
Oh, okay.
Back in 2012, there's this mechanic shop in Ottawa, Illinois, and he had this Volvo sitting around. And he wanted to have a contest. This guy comes up with all these wacky ideas. He wanted to have a contest of people guessing how the Volvo got out into the middle of the lake.
What?
So he put a Volvo out into the middle of a lake on its own tiny island. It literally, the island is the circumference of the car, and that's it. It's not like a big island.
So
it's just a Volvo on its own personal island out in the middle of a lake in Ottawa. And he wanted to run a contest, but then the local authorities were like, well, if you do a contest, people are going to try to swim out to it. And it's surrounded by 40 foot deep water. Like, it's not like a 5-foot deep lake. It is deep, deep, deep.
Right.
So he ended up not doing the contest and just left the Volvo out in the middle of this lake on its own island. And it's been there for 10 years.
Oh.
It's a Volvo, I want to say a Volvo S60, something like that. It's just a regular Volvo, but it's on its own island, which is just the weirdest thing ever. And you can go on Google Maps, Google Earth, and if you look at I think you could type in Volvo Island. I think it'll pop up. The Drive wrote an article about it. A couple other publications wrote an article about it. Anyway, long story short, with all of the COVID stuff, trying to stay away from people,
Right.
I wanted to do a mini documentary going out to this Volvo Island. And I wanted to get some cool drone shots because you can't really get close to it unless you swim out or boat out to it, which is just not going to do that. So, long story short, I'd like you to teach me how to fly the drone.
Yeah, that's no problem at all, and you could actually do it.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you're taking it over water.
Well,
interesting, yeah.
But right now it's ice because it was.
Yeah.
I got in the car today and it was -1 degrees outside.
By the way, spoiler, that's how they got the car out there, by the way.
No, it's actually not.
How? What?
It's actually not.
How do you know that?
Because I read the article and I looked at the Google Maps and it lined up.
That's how they did.
It was a really long peninsula.
I'm gonna whisper to the audience. They drove it out there over the ice.
They didn't.
How do you? Okay.
He put it at the end of a peninsula
Yeah.
and deleted the peninsula with a backhoe.
No.
Swear to God, look it up on Google Maps or Google Earth, and you can see
All right.
it's a lot less deep. Sorry, I just popped my pee.
That's okay. That's
It's
fine.
a lot less deep going out. You can see that there used to be a peninsula there. Are you looking it up now?
I'm trying to look up Craig Lieberman because
okay.
I'm like all about this now. We got to figure out if Craig Lieberman had anything to do with this movie.
Okay.
So go
Well,
ahead.
we're past 10 minutes.
We are
We're decently past.
Oh,
10
we
minutes.
are. Okay, hold on. Okay, that exciting siren
Yeah.
from the Ecto-1 means that we're beyond our 10-minute mark and we can now give you spoilers.
Yeah. So
Okay,
what
so go
did
ahead.
you think? This is a more me movie because this is more my generation.
Yeah, it definitely is. Yeah.
So go for it. What do you think?
No, I just, gosh, this was one where I think really the rules of physics started to go away.
Yeah.
Like in the first, let's see, 1, 2, 3. In the first 3 movies, yeah, there was some physics that you were questionable, and you were like,
Yeah.
I don't know if that could really happen. Or this one, okay. Screw you, physics. There's nothing that, there are certain things in this movie that jumping from one car to the other at full speed is like, I can't even imagine. That can't be possible. In the middle of a mountain. Okay, so that's, yeah.
So a couple things. My notes on your notes.
Okay.
This is first of all, Maine. This is the beginning of the end for me.
Is it?
For these movies?
Oh,
this is
really?
where these movies start to get action movies that happen to feature cars.
Okay.
1, 2, and 3. They were very car heavy, very car oriented, and they were more obtainable cars. You were seeing in this movie too. We'll get to the cars a little bit later on, but like the earlier ones, it was 240 SXs, and at the time Toyota Supras were pretty easy to find. And besides the R34, it was pretty much all cars that you could afford at the time.
Well, and Nick mentioned, I was watching the movie with my other son Nick, and he mentioned that that's a car that you can't get, right? That's illegal. The
Still
R34?
to this day, you can't import it.
Or what is it? R34?
It's an R34, so it's a Nissan Skyline
right
GTR.
Oh, okay.
But the chassis code is R34.
Oh, okay.
So there's different generations.
All right.
They're all Nissan Skyline GTRs, but you go by generational code. So that sound clip that I played last time, the RB sound, that's
Right.
an R33.
Which I believe. Nope.
No, not that one.
Okay, this one. This one. We still have it on our cool little
Okay,
device
yeah.
here. So, yeah, there's it.
Blow off valve.
Yeah, That's nice.
So that's an R33.
Okay.
And that's a GTS 25T, so it's a little bit lower of a trim level, blah, 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 blah.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so the R34, I believe, started in 98, 99 maybe.
Okay.
So you can import them in the next couple of years, but because of the 25-year rule, we still can't even get R34s. So the fact that they have R34s in these movies is so it's literally impossible. There's about, I think, 10 R34s that are here legally. Yeah. But I mean, those are museum pieces. They don't really get driven all that much. There's a couple of guys that drive them, but finding them in the impound lot is impossible. Yeah. You would not see these in impound lots. You would not see these at used car dealerships. Yeah. So, yeah.
Okay, I don't think I looked up the filmography. I don't think he had anything to do with this. Anyway, Craig, contact us if you did. Yeah, contact us, Craig.
Reach out, please.
Okay.
The other thing I want to say is that this is the first movie where CGI is really noticeable for those sort of out of this world effects.
Because they were done in crayon. Is that it? Because they were.
No. They weren't that bad, but
no, they weren't that bad.
There is a lot of CGI in the first two movies where like it pans through the car and then it like pauses and you see the engine exploding.
Okay.
But like those are like
those are expected to be CGI stuff.
Right.
You can't. That's not a.
And that's a physically impossible camera move.
Right.
But like I assume you're thinking a lot of the exploding oil tanker in the very beginning with the Grand National, where he drives under the exploding. Oil tanker.
Okay, I'm cringing right now because
that's the CGI that probably could have been done practically. Yeah. Mm-hmm. They had the budget, time, effort, whatever, and yet it was CGI. So this is where we really start to see CGI people, CGI explosions, where at first it was just kind of CGI engine components and racing sequences.
Hey, CGI people are people too. Okay, I just want you to remember that CGI people are people too.
What else did you think?
Besides the fact that everything that was tumbling in this movie tumbled way too long. Mm-hmm. There's no way that tanker would have tumbled all the way down. It was like 4 hours they were waiting at the end of the road, and the tanker was coming at them in flames, and they're like, what can I do? What are you going to do now? I literally just sitting there waiting, and the tanker's rolling and rolling and rolling and rolling, and they're kind of waiting. They're having a sandwich, and the tanker's rolling and rolling. It was crazy.
They should have done the Talladega Nights where he's rolling, and then it cuts to
Applebee's.
Yeah. $5 shrimp.
Shout out to Talladega Nights. Yeah. Exactly. So,
but besides CGI. Yeah. Let's get away from that. What else did you think of the movie as a whole?
So, I mean, it was... it's kind of fun to watch the stuff, but it's so far-fetched. And one of the things about it that really is very cringy is literally the world's worst police department and FBI department ever.
Oh, 100%, yeah.
So, Dominic Toretto is in his garage at night working on his car, and the police can't find him.
Well, they're staking the house out, too, that he's working
on. Right.
Like,
so how do they...
Yeah.
How do they not...
I'm sure that garage light isn't him. But maybe.
I'm sure that guy in the what do they call that? The Dago T is not Dominic Toretto, that giant bald guy leaning over the car working on it. I'm sure that's not Dominic Toretto.
When we go to Los Angeles this year, we should try to go to the Fast and Furious house. That's a real house.
Like, really?
Yeah, which is funny. They put whoever lives there. Yeah. It's just like a person that lives there.
Yeah.
They put a construction horse in the driveway because people would pull their cars in and like take a picture. Because it's the Fast and Furious house. It's in every movie.
Gotcha.
Every movie from now on, it's in it. And it gets blown up in one of them.
Really?
And then in the next movie, they're rebuilding it. It's like,
it's a whole gosh.
thing. But that's a real place. We should do like a Fast and Furious tour throughout Los Angeles.
That would be pretty hilarious. We should go to some of the locations.
Yeah, because also
that would be
the
great.
market from the first movie where he gets tuna no crust.
Right.
That's another popular one. That's actually a Fast and Furious gift shop now. And they sell die-cast versions of the cars. I think they're marked up like 300%.
Yeah, do they sell tuna fish sandwiches?
They might. I think they do. I think that location has like fully embraced it.
That's
I remember when I was in Miami.
Yeah.
In what was that? September? When did I go to Miami? I think it was September.
Yeah.
I was with my friend, and she lives in downtown Miami, and we started watching Too Fast, Too Furious.
Oh, boy.
And we could see some of the filming locations from her balcony, which was super cool.
That is cool. That's very cool.
So I think we should do that in Los Angeles.
I mean, that would be a lot of fun. I would enjoy that. Just to get some shots and maybe even do a video.
Yeah, that'd be fun. If we do end up doing that, we'll do a little video for the YouTube channel.
Yeah, exactly. That would be fun. But so definitely. And the other thing is Brago, the bad guy in this movie. He truly looks like it reminded me of Gilbert Gottfried. Gilbert Gottfried could have played.
I could see that actually.
I've got some drugs. I don't believe you're doing. I've got drugs.
You're not very good at impressions, but that one was decent. That one was decent. I'll give you that one. You know what?
What are you guys doing? I've got some drugs.
He's also squinting his eyes so hard. Did you know that's not his real voice, Gilbert Gottfried?
Really? Probably.
He was on an interview and he was like, "Yeah, like
really."
Yeah, and I was like, I was so thrown. I was like, "Oh my God, it's been an act this whole time." And he's like, "Yeah, I did that in like the '80s, and like it just kind of stuck."
Wow.
And like that just became his shtick. Exactly. And I was like, "Oh my God."
Yeah, I can't imagine going through life, obviously, with a voice like that, because that would be like really difficult and annoying. Yeah. I would like some tuna.
Gilbert Gottfried, open invite on the podcast.
Absolutely, anytime. But I thought, really, I thought he reminded me of him. And then after I made that connection, I was like, I can't look at that guy seriously. I mean, I'm
you
seeing
might have
Gilbert
ruined
Gottfried
it for some listeners.
Yeah, when you see
he
Brago,
does look like a Mexican Gilbert Gottfried.
He does, really.
Yeah.
I mean, it's so, and it's like, it's just crazy.
Although,
anyway, so
did you see the twist coming?
Yeah, actually, well, okay, so good. Okay, I'm glad you brought that up.
Yeah.
Here's about the twist, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so there's that twist. You don't know that Brago is Gilbert Gottfried.
Right, yeah.
You don't know he's that character, right?
Because he keeps talking about Brago in the third person.
He does. So Brago's not going to like that. Brago's not going to do this. Okay, so what happens in the movie is that, first of all, they have this super high-tech FBI headquarters setup. There are computers.
I know what you're going to say.
You know what I'm going to say. And there's computers, and they're super fast they've contacted hundreds of agencies. They even say this. Hundreds of Interpol agencies around the globe.
And there's all those like walls that have all the info on it, like basically like smart boards.
Right, exactly. And there's like digital fingerprints being scanned and everything.
But then the
So they're waiting for. They said, "Okay, we have an exact match on the fingerprint." So they find Brago's fingerprint, right? And they said, "Okay, we're about to move in on this guy." And she's like, "Wait a minute, the picture of Brago is coming through on the fax machine." Okay.
Oh, was that a fax machine?
It was a fax machine. She says
and
it's a
doing
fax
literally
machine.
line by line. Like, is that a dot matrix or what is that?
That's what I was joking about. It's a 9-pin dot matrix, probably.
It's literally
line by line.
Yeah. Wow, you're really good with the sound effects tonight.
Anyway, I thought it was so funny.
I didn't put that together, that this is a super high-tech facility.
It is.
But their printer can only do like one line a minute.
A fax machine.
Yeah.
You guys are surrounded by computers and internet and instant digital information, and you're getting the picture through a fax machine on a 9-pin dot matrix printer.
Picture shows up. Braga is actually the Gilbert Gottfried character, and not because they're arranging a deal, and quote unquote Braga gets out of the car, and he's this old guy with a beard and a nice suit, blah blah blah. And he basically becomes the fall man for
Right.
Braga. Braga
Right.
gets away.
It was
blah, blah, blah.
probably some some guy
But
walking the streets that they
I
picked up.
totally forgot about that twist because
You did,
in the
yeah.
beginning part of the movie, I'm like, I thought that guy was Braga. And I was like, man, this is like a
Wow.
Howie Mandela effect.
Right.
And I was like, oh, man, I don't remember. And then the
Howie
twist
Mandela,
came.
trademark.
And I was like, trademark Unnamed Movie Car
2022.
Podcast 2022.
Yeah.
Then I totally obviously remembered when
Yeah,
it came out,
it
but-
was, and I saw the twist. I could see it coming pretty far down the road because when the guy gets out of the car, who's supposed to be Brago,
Mhm.
something didn't feel right, and he didn't act right, and it was like, okay. And then the guy who's supposed to be pretending to play Brago, then has this overly sheepish look on his face
Yeah.
at the very end, and you're like, yeah, that guy isn't
Yeah.
Brago. That guy isn't.
I will say, my girlfriend pointed out, she's like, it's not him. It's
Okay,
not
yeah.
him. And I'm like, oh, yeah, now I remember what happens.
Yeah,
But
exactly.
speaking of which, I did watch this with my girlfriend, which
Yes,
I've
that's
never
right.
done.
That's right.
Here's the thing. The night or 2 nights before, she made me watch her favorite movie, Pride and Prejudice, that's based off of a Jane Austen novel.
How many
And
cars were in that movie?
Not a single one. Although, you know what I genuinely thought
What?
while watching this movie?
What?
Pride and Prejudice, it's a fine movie, whatever, but like I really struggle with accents and I struggle with people talking very quickly.
right,
I
yeah.
know that's hypocritical because I sometimes can talk very quickly.
No.
And but I like even in 3rd grade, I had like notes home that I wasn't learning anything because I had a 3rd grade teacher that talked so fast. And
Oh,
she's very
yeah,
high
yeah,
pitched,
yeah.
and it was like, and I was like, "Is like that fax machine?" It was like, and I was like, I'm not learning anything. Yeah, that's
Okay,
that's what she sounded like.
Okay. Wow,
So,
that's really bad.
I'm sitting here watching Pride and Prejudice.
Yeah. At least at least you didn't sound like, and that's the way that we do.
It's getting worse. It's getting worse. You nailed it at first, and now it's sliding. And now at the end of the day, you're gonna.
That's a
At the
really
end of the
bad
day, you're gonna be like,
imitation.
I'm Gilbert Godfrey. Yeah, that's gonna be your impression.
What's the
but
deal with Gilbert Godfrey?
I was actually going for Christopher Walken, but that was more Seinfeld. I agree.
So you have to understand, we have the worst possible imitations or
Yeah.
impressions of people. We're not exactly Rich Little. We're not exactly whoever people that do
Oh, shoot.
imitations do. Who does imitations
I
anymore?
was just following one on TikTok. The name will come.
You know
to
who
me.
does some great impressions though
Who?
is that guy who has that late night show, the late night TV show.
Jimmy Fallon?
Yeah, Jimmy Fallon.
yeah.
Jimmy
He
Fallon does
was
some
pretty
great
good,
imitations.
Yeah.
He laughs too much
Yeah.
on camera. Like when
Yeah.
he's doing a bit, he laughs way too much.
Yeah.
Yeah, but anyway, he can also be a guest on
Yeah.
the show at any time.
Anytime.
So
anyway,
yeah, we're gonna
so
say,
I'm sitting here watching Pride and Prejudice
You are.
by Jane Austen.
yeah, you're wondering where the cars are gonna come in.
Well, no, because it's set in like the 1790s. Or
Whatever.
something.
There's cars every time, all the time.
But they had a horse and carriage.
Yep.
And like there was like some kids and they were like just sleeping in the horse and carriage and there
Yeah.
was someone driving it and stuff. And I thought to myself, if I ever had the opportunity, if someone was ever willing to teach me
Yeah.
how to control a horse and carriage,
Yep.
I would review one. I would
Would you
100%.
really? Oh,
yeah, that would
okay.
be so cool.
It's a
And,
1
like,
horsepower.
If someone had like an 1805 like restored horse and buggy,
yeah.
that would be so cool. And I was like, man, I would do that. I would definitely
Up front,
do that.
we have 1 horsepower.
Well, yeah, up front, probably 2 horsepower. Really.
Maybe, yeah. Could be, yeah.
Which, oh my God, I was listening to a podcast the other day, and they were talking about 700 horsepower back in the 1800s. How? Because it was 700 horses hooked up to
Yeah.
a carriage.
Yeah.
But anyway,
pretty
so
cool.
she made me watch Pride and Prejudice.
All right.
So then she's like, okay, you get to pick the movie the next night. And I'm like, well, I have to watch this movie for my dad and I's podcast, so let's watch that.
And you said Christmas cars.
And no, so I made her watch Fast and Furious.
Okay.
And honestly, halfway through the movie,
Yeah.
I don't know if it was better than Pride and Prejudice or not. I was sitting here and I was like, oh, this is clearly the better choice of the two.
Right.
This is going to be more
Right.
enjoyable. But then I
Right.
was like, oh, maybe not.
Yeah. Yeah.
Maybe
well,
not.
it's funny that you say that because I was like, yeah, it's okay. I'm
Yeah.
watching a movie. It's all right.
Well, it's only down from here, in my opinion.
Really.
Well, okay,
well.
I take that back. Fast 5 is I think my favorite of
Yeah.
the heist generation, we'll call it.
Is that that's next? That's what we're doing next. Okay, so we'll see.
It has the bank vaults. It has.
Is it the bank?
It's in Puerto Rico.
Is it in San Pedro?
Which actually, the bank vault was practically done in that movie.
Was it?
Yes. So there.
It wasn't a real bank vault.
No, it was a bank vault with a chopped off Chevy S10 under it.
No.
And it had 4 wheels, a driver, and a steering wheel, and an engine.
Okay, but it was done practical. Okay, I see
yeah,
what you're saying.
they were actually dragging this thing, and there's a couple of times where like it actually smashed stuff that it wasn't supposed to.
Whoops.
Yeah. So I like that one just because the music is good, the cars were good, it was exciting, it was sort of right at the perfect age for me because that was 2011. But
yeah, but so you asked me. I mean, so for you, you're like saying this is like the start of the downhill. The Fast and Furious.
Yes.
Is that what you're saying?
Because with each passing movie, there's a lower and lower interest in cars.
True.
I remember I actually saw the 8th one in the theater with my girlfriend.
Yeah. Was there a car even in the movie?
Barely. Okay. That was the thing. Like there was one moment in the 8th movie, which we'll review one day, where they walk into like a giant, it's like a giant airplane hangar.
Okay.
And there's cars like on lifts, like stacked and stacked and stacked.
Yeah.
And they're like, all right, pick your car for the heist that we're going to do.
Okay.
And so there's some really cool shots of some Lamborghini, all unobtainable cars. Cars I will never, ever own or probably ever drive.
Well,
I've done one Lamborghini.
You have.
Still.
But
And that's it.
Right.
Then they drive those cars in the rest of the movie, but they're so unobtainable. It's like,
and
one of the cars is a Dodge Charger, a 70 Dodge Charger.
Yeah.
That is all-wheel drive swapped with a rocket engine in the back, and it's used to drive over frozen lakes. And it's like,
really?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, this is literally the turning point where it turns from car movies to crime movies with cars. If that makes sense.
Yeah, I can see what you're saying.
So yeah. I also, this movie's very forgettable to me.
Yeah.
There's not too many big sequences that I remember. I feel like it never really dug its teeth into anything.
I have seen this movie before.
Mm-hmm.
And I did I didn't remember it.
Yeah.
I honestly didn't remember it. So, yeah, that was the weird. I did remember something about going through a mountain, which is so unbelievable, but whatever. Yeah,
it made it exciting. But,
of course you got to have some. You have to have some exciting bits.
It was fun to see the R34 in this movie because the R34 cool. in, I want to say Bayside blue. That blue color, that's like a very Nissan color.
Yeah. That
blue color that he has. That is really, really cool.
Okay.
The whole scene where they're both souping up their cars for the
thing,
that I recently saw that turned into a meme where it's like what people think working on cars is like, and then it cuts to a video of a guy throwing a wrench through the wall, and it's like that's what it's really like.
That is so true.
Yeah.
I mean, it's unbelievable how true that is. You know that. It's not like nothing ever works. When you're working on a car, nothing goes right. Nothing ever works. Maybe
we're also
2% of the time.
We're also Rust Belt mechanics,
that's
so
true.
we're built differently.
No, that's true. But
any 5 bolts can mean an entire weekend.
That is true, and I get that, but it's true. In the movies, it's always like, okay, I got to turn the wrench on this really super clean part that I'm putting on this car. Now, granted, if you're rebuilding an engine and you've got all new parts and stuff like that, okay, granted, you could probably do that stuff. But a lot of times when they're wrenching on stuff, it's so neat and clean and works, and everything is normally, there's like no stripping a bolt. I want to see someone strip a bolt. I want to see someone break the head off the bolt and go, crap, and then they have to figure out how to get the bolt out of the hole.
Yeah.
That is a really serious problem.
That was fun to watch. I think some of the desert driving was kind of fun.
Yeah, it's fun.
But other than that, like there's not too many memorable moments to the point where I told you that quote, what's better for my Skyline, a Gallo 12 or Gallo 24?
Right, yeah.
That's not even in this movie, is it?
No, it's not. It was it was in the second one. It was in the second one. I guarantee it was in the second one. Too Fast, Too Furious. When he's trying to pick, and the guy says, "Oh, I'm going to be your driver," and he's like, "I pick my own drivers," and he says, "Remember that?" And then he picks Tyrese.
I totally thought that this was in the fourth. So that's not even a good quote from this movie because it's not even.
It's not even from this
So-
movie. So there's like no
Yeah.
quotable things in this movie.
But this was the last movie with like good eye candy cars too.
Yeah. Oh, and by the way, I want to go to California too.
Yeah.
Talking about eye candy because no one who is remotely not totally attractive lives in Los Angeles. Like everyone is super good looking. Men are super good looking. Women are super good looking. Cars are super good looking.
Yeah.
It's like everything is super good looking.
Also, those car meets and street races and stuff, girls do not go to. And I'm sorry,
No,
but
I
the
know,
girls
you're
that
right.
do go are weirdos. They're weirdos with daddy issues.
They're nice weirdos though.
No, I've never met a girl at a car meet and was like, "Wow, you're of sound mind." Like,
wow.
I'm just being serious. Like,
Wow.
girls don't go there to hang out and like, you know.
Well, if there was if there was all the drugs and alcohol that there is
I guess
in
that's
these
true,
car
but then
meets,
that's just depressing. I mean, that's just so sad.
It
Although,
is. It is
speaking
absolutely.
of which, they bust the guy with the yellow Mustang.
Yes.
God
right.
bless, because that's a horrendous vehicle. I've
Yeah.
driven one of those. They're
Have you?
awful to
Yeah.
drive,
Yeah.
and it totally fits the stereotype of the guy. But he's like sucking on the girl's toe.
Yeah.
And like filming it with like a 2002 camcorder. And I was
Right.
like, oh, I
There-
forgot about
Well,
this.
we were laughing because there was probably more girls kissing girls in this movie
Yeah.
than guys kissing girls
Yeah.
or whatever, or guys kissing guys or
Yeah.
whatever. But no, there was like there were so many scenes where there were girls making out with girls and like multiple girls making out with girls. And it's like, okay, I guess this is what L.A. is all about, but, you know, and maybe
Yeah.
it is. I don't
guess.
know. More power to you.
But speaking of the cars,
Live and let live.
the yellow Mustang, let's get to the actual
Okay.
cars.
All right.
First off, we have the 1970 Chevy Chevelle,
Oh,
which
yeah.
Dom is working on in...
I did like that was like a Jell-O thing or something.
What?
Kool-Aid commercial.
yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Dom's Chevy Chevelle.
Right.
He's working on in Panama City, which Panama City, by the way, in the movie, 2 minutes.
Oh, yeah.
He's in
right.
Panama City when he gets
Right,
the call that Letty died.
Yeah.
But then the Chevelle is back in
Which is a whole...
L.A. How
Yeah.
did he drive it all the way up from Panama City?
I don't
Or
know.
worse, did he have it cargo freighted
Maybe.
in?
Maybe.
Very strange.
Family.
Jeez.
Family.
Next up, 1970 Dodge Charger,
Yeah.
obviously featured in the very first
Yeah.
movie, which I think it's cool. They had the fenders off of it, like
Yeah, it was cool.
they were fixing it up from the first movie.
Yeah.
I thought
Because
that was
that's
cool.
what you do. You take fenders off when you fix up the
Well,
engine.
you know, it was smashed.
I
Actually,
know,
the real
I-
smash car, though,
Yeah.
we know where that ended up.
Oh, that's right.
Herbie
In,
Fully Loaded.
Herbie Fully Loaded, which we
In
reviewed,
the
yeah.
Herbie Fully Loaded is in the
review.
Fast and Furious cinematic universe.
It is
Technically.
the sentient,
Yeah.
friendly, fun. Why didn't they use Herbie? That would have been cool.
Can you imagine if they were like, oh, we need a fourth to run drugs to Mexico
And it's
or
Herbie.
from Mexico? We need someone cutthroat to drive through this mountain.
We need the most. We need the most dangerous, the fast. I'm sorry, Herbie. We can't use you. It's like a sad-faced Herbie.
Imagine the guy tries to assassinate Herbie at the end because they kill all the drivers each
That's
time,
true,
so there's
right.
no loose ends.
Right.
He just starts shooting at Herbie.
Yeah, and Herbie just goes nuts. Herbie
The
just is
dollar store Mr. T. Speaking of which, who drives a 1972 Ford Gran Torino? That was a really cool car.
That is
I
a
like
cool
that
car. That is a cool car. I get
Although,
props on that.
He was
so.
like, he's running nitro meth. I only know one guy in this town that
Yeah.
sells that. First of all,
okay,
you
let's
can
go.
buy it so many locations. Like,
at the dollar store. When
to be fair, there wasn't like Amazon Prime back in the day, but like stuff like that,
Yeah,
like
all right.
there isn't one guy that could build that.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right. Yes, exactly.
And the odds that he sold it to him and installed it, this guy
Right.
he's a drug dealer. He's not going to go to the shop and be like, oh, well, what did you guys quote me for this nitro meth kit? Mm. And also, another thing that pissed me off is he was like, you worked on a Torino, nitro meth kit, Continental tires.
Yeah.
I've reviewed over 700 cars.
Yeah.
Not once have I. Okay, maybe once I've taken note of what tires were on the car.
Really? Yeah.
And that was because they were on drag slicks.
Oh, well.
So
okay,
I
that would
actually
be
mentioned
good.
that they were on drag slicks.
Well,
I could not tell you, besides my own car, what tires have been on any
So-
cars I've driven.
I understand that, and that's another one part of this movie that drives me crazy because Nick and I were talking about it during the movie. Somehow, Dominic Toretto figures out exactly what happened the night that Letty dies through looking at skid marks on the road
And
then
a burn mark.
and a scene of burn mark with some yellowish
Which
like
would
dust.
normally lead to sulfur.
Right, exactly. Like, okay.
I'm no chemist, but my girlfriend is, and
right,
that
yeah.
would, yeah.
And how did he know those were Continental tires? How did he know
there's
that
no
the
way.
color or the make or model of the
Yeah.
car? How did he know? There's no
Yeah.
possible way he would know any of that stuff from just looking at skid marks in the road.
Detective Dom at the
my
scene.
gosh.
Next up, we have the 2001 Nissan Skyline GTR, the R34.
Yeah.
Really cool looking car.
Yeah, yeah.
But man, when they hit the States, they're going to be 130 grand.
Are they?
Yeah, for an
Okay.
old Nissan.
Oh, all right.
Um,
I'll get two.
Yeah, jeez. And next up, the 2009 Subaru WRX Sti. So that was the Subaru hatchback that they drove through the border the last time around.
And I have to. Oh, go ahead.
What's up?
I was gonna say. I have to say, looks wise, I'm not a fan.
Really?
Yeah, looks wise, I'm not a fan. But
It's one of my
That's what-
favorite cars ever made.
oh my god,
It's one of my favorite cars ever made. I'm not kidding.
I'm
That
sorry.
hatchback Subaru WRX Sti?
Yeah.
Well, here's the thing. It has a body kit on it.
Okay.
And I wanted
all right,
to
okay.
mention.
That's why I didn't like
Yeah,
it.
you don't have to
That's-
defend
I'm
yourself. It's
backpedaling.
fine.
I-
I've never driven one, to
I
be
love
fair.
that
I've
car.
never driven one.
I've loved the WRX.
So they
Just
might
a
drive
great
like garbage.
design.
But something interesting is that was a 2009 Subaru WRX Sti.
Okay.
This movie came out in 2009. When
Mhm.
they filmed it,
Yeah.
those were still prototypes for the next
Oh.
generation of WRX.
Okay. Interesting.
To the point where the creators of Fast and Furious had to design their own body kits and fit them to the prototypes because body kits weren't even available or made at that point.
Okay.
I remember I watched like a short video about it that they had to make their own body kits and make their own parts
Wow.
because Subaru gave them those cars for the movie.
Oh, okay.
But
All
they
right.
were pre-production cars. They were probably honestly going to get smashed anyway
Yeah.
because most pre-production cars go to the crusher because
Okay.
it's a liability if they get sold.
Really?
Yeah, so most pre-production cars do end up go to the crusher or they go to like colleges for students to work on.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
Because
That's
if
pretty
someone registers it and drives it as
Yeah.
a prototype car,
Mhm.
it's technically not the full version of the car, and there might be
Okay.
things.
Ah,
There might
okay,
be
okay,
switches
okay.
that don't
Oh, yeah.
work. There
Gotcha.
might be this, that, or the other.
Yeah.
You remember at the Peterson, the concept cars that had
Yeah.
no interiors.
Right.
They were just
Yes.
foam boxes underneath.
Yeah. Yeah. And pretty
So-
much a lot of the concept cars were
Yeah.
that they would just build and roll out onto the floor and go, "Hey, look at this
Yeah.
cool design." So
Yeah,
yeah,
actually, with one of the dealers I was working with, I was supposed
Yeah.
to drive a prototype BMW, but they legally couldn't let me leave. the
Ah,
lot with
okay.
it.
All right.
So I'm like, there's no point in that because like then I
Yeah.
can't even get it
You're
moving.
gonna drive around the lot?
Yeah. So I'm like, I'm not
It's
doing
okay.
that.
Yeah.
Next up, 2001 BMW 540i. So this was in the race, the street race.
Oh, right. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Through
Yeah.
town.
Mm-hmm.
I immediately knew from the interior that it was the BMW.
Okay.
I've driven one of these. Very good cars. Very good cars.
Are they?
4-liter
Are they?
V8.
Well, you like BMWs.
I really like BMWs,
Yeah.
and you could get this was a 5 Series, so a
Shout
little
out to
bit bigger.
BMW, who can be a sponsor if they want. You know.
Yeah. That's actually the prototype I was supposed to drive was a BMW.
Oh, cool. Yeah.
But fantastic cars. They come
Yeah.
with 4-liter V8s, the 540 at least.
Cool.
And you can get them with a manual transmission. So they're super
Oh,
comfy,
okay,
heated
yeah.
seats, all this stuff. I actually drove a 2001 BMW 540i as well in manual.
Yeah.
Just a weird pick for the movie because it's like they're fast cars.
Yeah.
4-liter V8
Yeah.
and a 5 Series BMW with a
Yeah.
6-speed manual, good. But like that's not like a street racer car.
It was
That at
yeah.
the time, that's like an executive's car.
Well, it was really cool when they showed the guys were flipping the switches and then the guy turned on the heated seats. That was cool. That was
They
really cool.
should have done
He flipped
that,
on the
yeah.
heated seats button.
and
It's
those
like, oh,
actually
that's
have
comfy.
the bottom of the seats. I believe it's an E39. I'm trying to think. I haven't driven one in a couple of years. The bottom of the seats, like that go under your thighs.
Yeah.
You can actually extend that outward too, and you can
Really?
adjust that. Yeah, it's kind of nice.
That's wild. Okay, that's.
But next up, even more puzzling, was the 2003 Infiniti G35.
Okay.
These cars, in my opinion, one of my really good friends had one. I think they're so butt ugly.
Okay, I didn't even notice it.
3.5 V6, same as the Nissan 350Z that we talked about.
Okay.
It's the VQ35DE. They make decent power for what they are, but like they're not like performance cars. Like, if you turboed it or supercharged it, maybe, but like at the end of the day, I don't know. It was just a very weird pick.
Yeah.
You're really hacking up a lung over there. Maybe you should have gone to the hospital.
Yeah, maybe.
Next, 1986 Buick Grand National from the very first scene. Just reviewed one of these last fall. Yeah, love these cars.
Oh yeah, they're cool.
They're fantastic.
I drove a new one. I told you that. I drove a brand new one before they were even for sale. A friend worked for, her dad worked for GM. And he gave me the keys and said, and I was 16.
Jeez.
And he said, "Oh yeah, go out, have fun, take the car out." And I was like, "Okay, Mr. Blah, blah, blah. I'm gonna go take your car out."
These are super cool. It's a turboed V6, 3.8 liter, I want to say. I drove one. I mean, these things. It's weird because you get boost noises, you get blow off valve,
it's
and
pretty cool. They're cool.
The one that I drove was built as well, and it had. Man, the turbo would spool like immediately. So driving it sounded like a truck. You just got this high-pitched whistle while driving, and then you put your foot into it, and it was awesome.
That's really
I love the Grand National. Probably one of my favorite cars on this list.
Cool.
Next up, the 1973 Chevy Corvette F-Bomb. I don't know if you remember that one.
Oh, yeah, I do. Yeah, well, because you said F-Bomb, I saw the car.
I have some facts about that later on. Mm-hmm. One of my favorite cars, again, from this movie, I believe Volvo had it for a little bit.
That sounds right.
I've seen it in person.
Yeah, you probably have.
But the 1973 I wrote down Corvette. Jesus, that's a Camaro. That is not a Corvette.
Oh,
I totally misspoke.
Right. It was
that is completely a Camaro.
Camaro, you're right. Camaro. Yep.
My God.
That's what I said. That's what you said.
I'm going to jump off a bridge after this.
Oh, jeez.
Next up, the funniest car in this whole entire film.
Herbie was in there.
1994 Ford Taurus Wagon.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
So there's a chase scene in Mexico. They're trying to get out with, what is it? Not Brazos. Brazos is from Only Murders in the Building.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Was it Brago?
Brago.
They're escaping Mexico with Brago, trying to get across the border.
Yeah.
And they're being chased by, I think it's like a 73 Lincoln Continental gangster car.
Right.
They're being chased by a trophy truck, which is designated off-road, like the old Traxxas that Nick used to have.
Yes, exactly right. Yeah.
And then you see the trophy truck jump,
Yeah.
And there's a 94 red Ford Taurus wagon.
Yes.
And they're shooting out of the side of it. And I was like, oh, that's where the budget ended. What cartel has these like trophy trucks and Lincolns and then just this little this little Ford Taurus wagon? It was terrible.
My cartel. I can't.
Oh my god!
I can't do the voice. That sounds like Harvey Keitel or something.
Oh jeez!
Oh my gosh, my cartel is. Anyway, no, it was. It was crazy.
It was so.
It was
funny. To me.
It was hilarious. It was like. It was like a Benny Hill. Well, for most of you don't know who Benny Hill is.
Well, so what's funny is that whole ending scene, which we'll get into in a second. Yeah. There's cars in that chase that are literally there for 0.2 seconds and then never seen in the chase ever again.
Yeah.
We'll get to that in a second. The other one I wanted to mention from that sort of part of the movie was the 1990 Lamborghini Lm002. So when the cartel's pulling up to the church, that front black SUV, that's a Lamborghini.
Is it really?
Yeah. Okay. So Lamborghini made like a Hummer essentially in the 90s.
Yeah.
Failed. No one bought them. Which honestly, Lamborghini was kind of ahead of the game with like $100,000 SUVs,
Right,
because that wasn't really a
like
thing.
the Escalade then became really.
Well, this is
famous.
10 years before the Escalade.
Right,
This is
exactly.
8
The Lincoln
years before
Navigator,
the Lincoln
whatever.
Navigator.
Yeah,
The
right,
Navigator debuted, I think, in '98.
Yeah,
So this is like 8 years before that. So no one wanted this like military luxury Humvee style.
which is kind of
exotic.
crazy. Can you still get them?
Oh God. Well, they're super rare. I was super.
Oh yeah,
rare.
well, whatever. But you can still get them.
Lamborghini debuted
Buy
a SUV last year. They did like a luxury SUV.
Who did?
Called the Urus, the Lamborghini Urus.
Oh, okay, all right.
And for the press events, they brought out their heritage Lm002 to like take pictures with the Urus.
Next year they're bringing out the Lamborghini Whoopsie Doodle, and that was kind of an odd one right there.
But I thought this was a perfect casting of a car for the cartel.
Yeah,
because
actually,
it is this like overpriced, super
that would
overpriced
be the one.
gangster. It's a Lamborghini, but also like a Hummer style military vehicle.
Yes,
that was really perfect.
So car casting, that was brilliant.
That was brilliant.
Yeah, that
100%,
was really good. Yeah.
100%.
But I would have liked to seen Herbie.
Yeah, I know. You're stuck on Herbie.
Yeah.
So last three cars, very background cars, but I have
Herbies?
to mention them.
No, okay.
First of all, is a quote unquote 1986 Mazda Rx-7.
What? Wait, why you say quote unquote?
Here's the thing. It has S5 taillights, which is 89 to 91 taillights. However, it is a very common swap to put the newer taillights onto the older ones.
Happened, yeah.
So it says, Internet Movie Car Database says it's an 86, but it has 89 to 91 taillights.
Okay.
And it's all purple. And when we were watching it, because there's a kind of a close-up of it. It's at the funeral. There's all those cool cars parked at Letty's funeral.
Oh, that's right.
And I pointed to it, and I looked at my girlfriend. I said, I used to own that. I used to own one of those.
Yeah.
And she was like, what? And I was like, oh, it's an RX-7.
Yeah.
Funny enough, it's this purple RX-7, right?
Yeah.
In the next two scenes, when Brian is picking his car out of the impound lot, there's pictures of it in that, there's like thousands of pictures.
Yeah.
The purple RX-7 is in the impound lot. So did they impound it directly after the funeral?
Yes, they did.
Like the same
Don't question.
day?
Do not question. They did.
So
in that
let me get
universe,
this straight. So
All
they
right.
impounded that car the same day as the funeral and got uploaded multiple photos to the database.
Yes, they did.
Of the
They
same
did.
car.
Absolutely. There's no problem with that.
But there's a second gen RX-7 in the movie.
Is there?
In that huge desert chase scene. I thought I saw it,
Really?
but then I was like, no, I'm crazy.
Did you go
Driving
back and
across
look
the
at it?
desert, there's a white 1988 Mazda RX-7.
Huh.
But again, it has S5 taillights, meaning 89 to 91. So either it had the
Second
taillights,
gen?
taillights
Oh.
swapped,
All right.
or it's actually a S5. But whatever.
Okay, yeah.
Literally, it's seen driving
That
across
really
the desert.
aggravates you.
It does.
It's like- I know. So, all right.
It's seen driving across the desert in that giant group of
Cloud
cars.
the cloud of dust.
Then
yeah.
never again.
Yeah.
It's not in the first part of the chase scene with Taurus and trophy truck, and it's not at the end of the chase scene. It's literally there. I assume like the director's like godson had just picked up this RX-7 and was like, "Hey, can it be in the movie for 2 seconds?"
And they probably did that though. The day of shooting, they said, "Hey, everyone, get in your cars. Whatever you got a Taurus wagon, get in your car.
Yeah.
You got
But you know what's
you
super
got a trophy truck.
frustrating?
Get in the car. We're all gonna be doing this. We're all gonna drive.
You know what's now super frustrating though?
Okay.
Is that also in that last chase scene, there's a white 2004 Mazda Rx8.
Is there?
Yes, and that one's actually seen going through the tunnels.
Oh, going through the mountain?
Going through the mountain.
Oh,
yeah.
okay, yeah.
So at the beginning, before they enter the mountain,
Yes, by the way, they drive through a mountain.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Before they
That
enter the
happens.
mountain,
Yeah.
there's a white RX-7.
Mm-hmm.
When they get into the mountain, there's a white RX-8. I don't know if this was intentional, but then when I saw the RX-8 on screen, I'm like, oh, that's for sure an RX-8. I must have mistaken the RX-7 for the RX-8.
Yeah.
They don't look that similar, but like maybe my brain just farted.
What movie? One of your friends mentioned a movie where the car changes in the middle of the movie. We have to watch that movie.
I know. I can't find it anywhere, though.
Really?
It's called 200 Miles an Hour.
Okay.
And apparently the story goes that they start the movie off with a green second-gen RX-7.
Right.
Mid-filming, in real life, the car gets stolen. So they finished the movie
This
with
sounds
a
like one of my
green
productions. Yeah.
with a green Nissan 240SX.
Okay. Yeah.
Which, to be fair, I once saw a 240SX with the front bumper off,
Yeah.
and I was like, "Oh, there's an RX-7 here." And then I looked at the side of it, and it was not an RX-7, and I was like, "Oh."
Oh.
It's hard to identify, but like this is full bumpers on. Like,
Okay. All right. Yeah.
So we will do
Interesting.
200 miles an hour at some point, but
If we
but
can
yeah,
find it,
they,
yeah.
I don't know if they like changed
That
it
is
out.
weird though. Yeah. That's.
I don't know. It was very
Right,
strange, but those are the cars that I had listed down. Pretty good eye candy
Yep.
for this movie,
Yeah.
car wise.
Car wise, yeah, very good. Yeah.
And again, you're seeing a lot of tuners still, which is great.
Right. Yes. Exactly. Yes. You're still.
Although
seeing
they
that.
also one of the scenes they had after they steal the oil trucks.
Yeah.
And they're like throwing a party, which I don't know why you'd do that.
Because every gang throws a huge party after they pull a heist. That's
They're
given.
doing like little drag races. It's a Toyota AE86 Corolla,
Mhm.
which is basically it has an MR2 engine. It's a 1.8 liter
All right.
little thing.
Yeah.
Against a Ford, is it an RS200 or RS2000, which is like a purpose-built rally car that is like hundreds of thousands of dollars to obtain now.
Oh,
They're
well,
racing it against a 1980s Corolla.
Yeah. Wow.
And I pointed it out to my girlfriend, and I was like, there's no way. Why would you ever do that? So, anyway,
bothers
plenty
you.
of cars to look at,
Yeah.
plenty of obtainable cars, which was always sort of
True.
the charm of Fast and
Yeah.
Furious.
Right. Right.
It made you, at least the first three, I guess count this one, first four films, make me want to go out and work on my own car.
Sure.
And,
Yeah.
you know, I feel like I could somehow be a part of that world where
Right.
moving on, it's not. It's not.
Well, right. So, and by the way, so another thing, you were talking about the cars. I just want to put in there that when you were talking about the race in the city, where they're trying to pick the top drivers, right?
Oh, yeah.
Again, absolute proof that this was the worst police department on the face of the planet. How do they not figure out that? First of all, there's this giant car meet at this Topgolf. It looked
I was
like
going
a
to say it was
Topgolf,
Topgolf, but it wasn't Topgolf.
It wasn't Topgolf.
I was like, oh, man, that's
But
been
they-
around for a little while.
Right, but they had like this. They were doing the Topgolf thing where the guy was like hitting golf balls off the top tier of the building
Yeah.
into a net. Okay, fine, good. And
Which
underneath,
also, the cars were parked
Yes,
under the net. And
the
I'm like,
cars-
I
yeah.
don't care what kind of net that is. If there's a single hole in it, I'm
Yeah.
getting a ding.
which by the way, yeah, could you imagine one hole? All of the golf balls would
Yeah.
be pooled to that one
Yeah.
hole and drop down onto the
A
cars.
single car. Or
Which-
honestly, they'd hit
Yeah.
the parking lot and bounce 20 more feet
Right.
and just keep bouncing and bouncing. Yeah,
all
just
the
hailing.
all the cars would be done. To.
Yeah.
So they're doing that. Cops have no idea. There's not a cop in sight.
Yeah.
Racing through the city, not a cop in sight. Get all the way to the end, not a cop in sight. There's no cops anywhere in L.A.
Which also,
I guess that's real.
The
I guess
whole
that's
thing
all
of the
real.
GPS is stupid.
Oh my gosh, and the most advanced GPS ever.
Yeah, especially for 2009. Because you remember, we drove to South Dakota with the Navi
Yeah, but-
system. It wasn't
Right.
great.
No, that wasn't like that. No, it wasn't.
But
Three-dimensional printouts of buildings and
Yeah.
levels and things.
But
yeah.
also, if you have the GPS route,
Yep.
how can you? He just went off route and took
He
a bunch
did.
of shortcuts.
He did.
So
Yeah.
then why have the GPS? So he
Right.
should have either A, been disqualified for going off route,
Right.
or B, there shouldn't have been a route. There should have just been an endpoint and just said, hey, fastest one here wins.
Well, and so here's the other thing. Right, exactly. So why didn't he look at it and go, wait a minute, if I cut through over here, if I take a left
Right.
and just keep going straight, I'm going to beat these guys to the end.
And
Who
also,
cares?
all the gangsters and everyone beat them there by a considerable amount because they were parked cars off,
Oh, that's
standing
true.
outside their cars.
That is true, yeah.
So it obviously wasn't like a straight line.
No, it was like a loop.
So like, why didn't you just like hide out for a little
Right.
bit and then?
Yes. Yes. I mean, like, that is...
It was a cool thing when he was talking to the other FBI agent and the thing starts buzzing and he's like, I gotta go now. That was kind of exciting.
yeah,
Where
okay,
like
yeah.
I understand that for the GPS where it's
All right.
like, oh, it calls you like
Right,
you
and you don't know where.
yeah.
And I did not buy for a second that whole love relationship between Gadot,
Gal Gadot, and
Gal
Vin
Gadot
Diesel.
and Vin
I
Diesel.
totally forgot she was in this
No,
movie.
I did too. The woman who plays Wonder Woman, the
Yeah.
actress who plays Wonder Woman, is in this movie and is a love interest of Dominic Toretto, and he's like kind of totally did not get that she would be like after him.
Yeah, it's they either didn't do enough with it, or they did too much with it.
It was
at the same time, if that makes sense.
Well, the weird thing is, literally, I mean, you have two arguably attractive people, right?
Yeah.
There was no chemistry whatsoever between those two people. It was bizarre how you could take two fit people.
Well, their
and be
whole
like,
relationship was just dialogue.
It was.
Their whole
just like
relationship was like Tumblr quotes, like. Because she's like,
exactly, yeah.
What was it?
Like,
she was like, "Oh, do you like cars more than women?" And
Right.
he's like, "I appreciate any body line."
Right? Yeah.
It's
Exactly. It's like, okay, fine.
I audibly
whatever, yeah.
groaned when
Yeah.
they said that.
I
It's
did
just so
too.
cringe.
I actually laughed out loud.
I know that
It
there's
was an
some
LOL
16-year-old
true
who
movie.
just got his license and said that to a real life girl.
Right.
And now he's wondering why girls don't talk
Right.
to him at
Exactly.
school.
Well, that's
because
it.
you're the
That's
weirdo
why.
quoting the 13-year-old movie.
Right, exactly.
why.
So don't watch if you're,
It's not
because
because you like cars. It's because you're a weirdo who likes cars. I want you to know that.
Wow, yeah, just
No girl will dislike you for liking cars. They'll dislike you for being a weirdo who likes cars.
Wow. Yeah, it's
Trying to help out today's youth.
That's all right. That's nice. That's good.
So I do have some trivia here.
All right, let's go through the trivia.
Some interesting ones actually.
All right.
So Ron Yoon suffers from vertigo. He's the guy who gets hung out of the window.
Really?
Yeah. For the scene where his character David Park is hanging out of the window, the reactions on his face are natural. Director Justin Lin in the commentary said that he really wanted to get the scene done since they were losing natural light. Get ready for this.
Okay.
He jokingly threatened to hang Ron himself if he didn't get the shot right away.
Wow.
I was like, wow, that's a little aggressive, and even jokingly.
Yeah. Wow.
But yeah, I thought that was kind of funny. The guy who plays David Park, who's hung out upside down, the only person to be hung upside down, actually suffers from real life vertigo.
Well, but he reminds me of the guy who was in the movie Hot Rod, who was one of the. I can't remember what character his name was.
Was he the one that keeps
pool.
dancing?
Keeps dancing, yeah.
Oh,
Doesn't
my
he
God,
look like
yeah.
him?
God knows my name. God knows my name.
Right, exactly.
Oh, my God. I told
exactly.
we got to
He's
do
doing the
Hot
dance.
Rod at some point.
Well, there's plenty of vehicles.
Counts. Yeah, there's a motorbike. And,
well, the movie's name is Hot Rod.
Yeah,
so,
and
you
Bill
know,
Hader drives a Dodge Grand Caravan.
Yes, we can.
Or it
talk
actually,
about
it might have been a Plymouth Voyager.
well, and there's the Corvette.
Yeah, the
guy
C6
so,
Corvette.
yeah, so
Perfect car casting, by the way.
Yes, exactly. So
yeah, let's do Hot Rod.
we could do Hot Rod.
We're gonna do Hot
point.
Rod. Let's do Hot Rod right now. So Andy Samberg.
So I got some trivia about Hot Rod. So
next up, due to Universal Pictures moving the release date up from June 12th to April 3rd, composer Brian Tyler, who also did Tokyo Drift, only had 3 days to record. That's him. That's Brian Tyler.
See, I was right on the soundboard on that one.
If I'm not mistaken,
you're welcome.
He like set it up, but I think that was actually done by the Teriyaki Boys. If I recall,
no, there is no group named the Teriyaki Boys.
Oh, 100% there is.
Okay, all right, fine.
But anyway, so
I don't believe
because of the move of the release date, Brian Tyler only had 3 days to record the orchestral score of this movie. 3 days.
Wait.
To record all of the orchestra parts of this movie.
Oh, Brian Tyler, not Steven Tyler.
No, what?
Of Aerosmith.
Oh God, no. Okay. Your impressions card has been revoked. He's the one with the weirdly large lips,
yes,
right? Yeah, okay.
Yes,
and
Aerosmith,
his, I remember
that's Steven Tyler, but not Brian Tyler.
I watched part of a documentary. His toes are like forever messed up.
Really?
From swaying back and forth on stage. They've like elongated, so his big toes curl under the rest of his toes.
So that's like when you roll out dough and it kind of elongates.
Yes, no, 100%. 100%. I'm not kidding. I think it was, it might have been a Top Gear thing. Whatever. He was talking about how like, it like literally his big toe is like a piece of dough.
Dude, exactly.
Oh my God. This is why we don't record late at night.
I know, it's 11 o'clock.
So I thought that was pretty impressive. He
Yeah,
only had
it's
3
Brian
days
Tyler.
to
Brian
record
Tyler.
the orchestra.
So
for
shout
the,
out to Brian Tyler.
Yeah, huge
That is
shout out.
actually
Great,
3
great
days.
music. Yeah.
That's nuts.
That's insane.
That is.
And it came. I mean, that wasn't one of our talking points of the movie, so that's good that it was unnoticeable.
Right.
This one was the most interesting to me that I didn't realize.
Okay.
This is Gal Gadot's on-screen film debut.
No.
This was her first movie. She's like huge now.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
To the point where actually last week with my girlfriend we watched Red Notice, which is a Netflix movie with Gal Gadot, Ryan Reynolds, and The Rock.
Oh yes.
You ever heard of this? It's
I
about
have seen it. Yes.
Yeah.
So
did you watch that movie?
I did not watch it, but I've seen the trailer for it and all that stuff. So that's pretty cool. God, what was I gonna? I don't know what I was gonna say.
Have a bone to pick with that movie too.
Really? Why?
Yeah.
Is it bad?
Are you gonna watch it?
I am gonna watch it. So I want to watch it at some point. Is it bad? Is it?
Yeah. I mean,
spoiler.
Well, here's the thing. I'm gonna try not to spoil it. They drive a really, really old car.
Yeah.
That's been sitting for a very, very long time.
Yeah.
And it starts right up, and it bothered me so much.
Ooh, that's yeah.
I'm like,
that's
it was like it's like
fake.
So it's like in this place that hasn't been opened in 70 years or whatever.
Yeah.
And I'm like, the gas in that tank would be nail polish remover.
Right.
I have tried to start a car off of 7-year-old gasoline.
Sure.
And it is impossible.
Yeah, you can't do
because
that.
gasoline actually does not have a very long shelf life.
It doesn't. It doesn't. It's true.
And so that really bothered me about that movie is that they start up and then they drive it.
Wow.
And I'm like, first of all, you didn't even let the engine warm up.
Right.
They're just driving
exactly.
this thing.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Wow.
So next up for trivia, around 240 cars were built specifically for this film.
240?
Yeah. Now you have to think about duplicates. I'm sure they had like 10 Skylines.
Well, okay. All right. Fine.
I'm sure
yeah,
they had
so.
like 15 Chargers.
Fine.
And,
Okay. Well, yeah.
you know,
we'll get
multiple
those,
of everything. But 240 were built just for the movie.
Wow.
Which is pretty crazy.
Yeah.
The Nissan Skyline Gtr R34 that O'Connor drives was provided by Kaizo Industries, which was claimed to
Kaizo
be
Sose?
No.
Is that?
Which was claimed to be legal for road use under a kit car guidelines.
Ah.
A copy of the R34 was later believed to be stolen in July of 2009, but it was not the movie car. The original Kaizo GTR R34 was seized by the government agents in 2009 and exported in 2012 to Germany.
Wow. Okay, so that was weird.
Yeah. So
yeah.
R34s just carry this burden of originally Nissan tried to import them into the country under something else. They lied to the government about them to get them in, which started the whole ban on importing cars.
Oh, okay. Right,
if you are caught with an R34 and it's found out to be an R34, it immediately gets sent to the crusher.
Wow.
I mean, there are a couple R34s that people have brought in illegally from either Canada, who only has a 10-year import law, or other various ways.
Yeah.
Just ship the car over here in 3 different parts, say it's car parts, and weld it back together.
Right. Gotcha.
There's a story, I believe a guy in Oklahoma got caught with an R34, and they literally crushed it. They took it to a junkyard and crushed it.
Wow.
It's just this
horrible
black cloud that sort of follows the R34, which also kind of builds to its like mysteriousness, and people want to buy them, and they go for serious high prices because you know, it has this sort of history to it. Next up, Paul Walker's character Brian O'Connor used to be a blonde, yet Walker switched from natural blonde to brunette in real life after a film he did in 2003. The script for this film offers no explanation as to why Brian is a brunette now, and Paul Walker was a brunette since 2004 until his death in 2013. So, if you notice, in the first 2 films, he's a blonde.
Yeah.
And now he's a brunette, and they never explain it in the movie.
You didn't see that box of Just for Men hair color?
Product placement.
Product placement.
Hilarious.
That'd
be pretty funny.
That,
with $72.5 million, it had the highest grossing opening weekend of a car-themed movie, beating out Pixar's Cars by over $12 million.
Wow. Okay, so that is pretty
opening weekend
amazing.
for Cars was $60 million. This was 72.5.
Wow.
Which
how much was the movie made for? How much did they what was their budget?
I do not know.
Wow. Okay.
But
All right.
what I do remember is that Tokyo Drift was the worst performing of the franchise.
Yeah.
This was the best to the time, and people love Tokyo Drift way better.
Oh yeah, Tokyo Drift
This is so forgettable, which is so interesting.
Yeah, Tokyo Drift was made for about $38, I think.
Probably.
No, actually, Tokyo Drift I think was much more a better movie than this movie. I thought it was.
Oh yeah, 100%.
Yeah, I know.
Next up, the F-bomb Camaro used at the end of the final chase scene through the tunnel is a duplicate of David Freiberger's real 71 Camaro F-bomb.
Oh.
David Freiberger was the chief editor for Hot Rod magazine for years, and the car was originally built by Tom Nelson at Nelson Racing.
Okay.
So, do you know who David Freiberger is?
No, but no. Go ahead.
So he used to do a show. It's now on Motor Trend Network, but it used to be on YouTube called Roadkill.
Okay.
And it was a fantastic show.
Really?
I'm so upset that they put it behind a paywall. I think because now you need a Motor Trend subscription to watch it.
Oh.
And it started off as just a genuine YouTube show.
Yeah.
And it was so good because they would go to a junkyard. They would spend 3 full days at this junkyard and drive one of the cars out and drive it like 800 miles home. And they'd do all these crazy hot rod swaps.
Yeah.
They were always like rat rods inspired, where like one of the cars he built was the General Mayhem, which is a 68 Charger with a Hellcat engine.
Oh, you're kidding.
So I also want to point out David Freiberger, who's also seems
shout out to David Freiberger.
Huge shout out.
Okay.
He seems like one of the most genuine car guys.
Really?
He's just an older guy, like loves hot rods.
Awesome. Is he
always
still around?
Oh yeah.
Let's get him on the
yeah.
show. Get him on the show.
100%. He is one of the best namers of cars too that he's built, because the F-bomb Camaro is a great name because it's an F body Camaro.
Oh.
That's the chassis code from GM is an F-body. It's a first-gen F-body, not the 90s catfish-looking F-body.
Gotcha. Okay. All right.
He also built the General Mayhem, which
nice.
is
Good.
a
like the General Lee.
Like the General Lee. And then actually, now that I remember it, the Hellcat swapped one, I think he called General Maintenance because it was a full modern Chrysler swap.
Well, it would be General Maintenance.
And he also has it's an old gasser style dragster, and it's a Chrysler, and he calls it the Blast Hemi.
Okay.
Because it's like blasphemy, but blast dash Hemi.
Blast Hemi. So,
David Freiberger is really great. Look him up on YouTube or anything else.
Yeah.
He's just a guy that likes to wrench and he has an infectious smile as well.
If you're driving, pull over to the side of the road, stop, and get your smartphone out and Google him now, and just do that.
Yeah, it's super great.
Be safe, be careful, be safe. But
I think the worst step of any YouTube car show was that Motor Trend decided to put that show Roadkill behind a paywall.
Yeah, that's too bad. That is
really it was
too
just
bad.
One of those things where I mean, there were like ads in the middle of it, but like I didn't really care. I just think I don't know. I think moving things completely behind a paywall is very, very dumb.
Yeah.
I understand wanting to centralize your income.
Right.
And I don't know. I just feel like bonus content should be I think the main thing should always be free with ads.
Yeah.
And then the bonus should be behind a paywall.
Yeah, that's
so
fine.
Like I eventually want to move to some type of Patreon style platform with my car reviews, but I would never hide my car reviews behind the paywall. You just either see them early or maybe do a extended version, maybe do at the end of the paywall version, I'd do bloopers at the end or something like that. But I think moving the entire show behind the paywall was just sad to see because I haven't watched that show now in 5 years.
When you have to remember, too, that you are actually growing up and living through a time where we are going through different business models for media content.
Yeah.
So you have things like in the beginning where everything was ad-sponsored. When we had regular broadcast television, in order to pay for all that, they had to somehow make enough money to pay for all that stuff. So they had ad sponsors, or they had ads, and they had sponsors, actually, that would sponsor whole entire shows.
Right.
And then they moved to a whole bunch of different things. So we've gone through this entire, I'm not going to go through it, but we've gone through this entire this entire craziness of how do we pay for these things. and we still continue to, from from that to Patreon to everything.
I think since 2006 we've seen an extreme catalyst of it.
Yeah.
Where YouTube came in and disrupted cable television.
It did.
To the point where cable realized, okay, now we have to be online.
Right.
And also YouTube was fighting of how do we make money doing this.
Right, exactly.
And then now we've seen the birth of so many streaming systems. I mean, I remember physically receiving Netflix DVDs.
Oh,
in those
absolutely.
little red envelopes.
Absolutely.
Now every website, every place has their own streaming service.
Right,
Every channel has their own streaming service.
Yep.
And I think we've actually done a 180
Yeah.
where now every channel has its own streaming service, and you're starting to see streaming services bundled together.
True.
Like you can now get Disney Plus with ESPN
Yes,
and Hulu,
which we have. So,
which we do have.
Yeah.
And so it's
Which is interesting.
crazy.
Yeah. It is. But it's all video on demand. And
Right.
that was the big change.
Yeah, and I think with Patreon, it really lets you put your I don't even know how to say it. Like you don't really owe anyone. Like I don't have a boss.
Right.
Like at the end of the day.
Yeah.
I make money off of YouTube.
Yeah.
No one tells me how often to post.
Right.
If I want to fund something, I have to fund it myself.
Right.
Which is a downside.
Yep.
I don't have a big corporate structure behind me.
Yep.
And to give me $100,000 to go fund a passion project.
Right.
But
Not yet. But
not yet. But yeah, so like it's all very interesting as we get on that tangent. But
No, it is. It is very interesting how this whole pay model and stuff works. But
that's one of the hardest sells. A lot of people ask me why I don't review a lot more exotic cars like Lamborghinis and Ferraris.
Yeah.
The truth of there's a bunch of reasons that go into that, but one of the biggest reasons is that the people that own those cars are of the older generation, and they don't. From my experience, they don't understand what the heck YouTube is, how it could be legitimate, and how people make money at it. When I tell people that's my full-time job is YouTube, a lot of people scratch their heads.
Right. Yes.
How can the website I see cat videos on, how are you making a living off of that?
That is the
Who's
first question.
Paying you? I'm sure you get it a lot,
I get it
too.
all the time when people are like, what does
yeah.
your son do? And I'm like,
Yeah.
well, he's a content provider for YouTube. And they're like, wait, what? How does he do that? My kid put up a video. He's not making any money.
Yeah,
I'm like,
why? Yeah.
Well, yeah, because it's totally. How long have you been doing? 6 years? 5, 6 years?
I mean, it depends on how you measure it. I started my Shooting Cars YouTube channel in 2015.
Okay.
A couple months before I bought my Rx7.
So that's 7 years.
Yeah, but I mean, like, even at that, like, I mean, I made and rendered and exported my first video in September of 2008.
Really?
Yeah. It was...
Wow.
It was, it was filmed, I think, on a flip video camera.
Okay,
And I was
probably,
filming a tube TV. So there was like the black lines that would come down.
Wow.
I forget what that's called. Like the refreshing.
Yeah.
The refresh rate was disagreeing with the camera.
Yes. Right. So.
And it was a short video on all the different warthogs you could drive in Halo.
Oh, okay.
Because in Halo there was the regular warthog with the little machine gun on the back.
Mm-hmm.
There was the Gauss cannon one, which was like a laser cannon on the back.
We all have that.
Yeah, and then there was the passenger one where it didn't have a gun on the back, but everyone could sit on the back.
Right, exactly. I remember that one.
And then there was an Easter egg in Halo 2.
Yeah.
Where if you like did something or like went into the coding or something, you could get a warthog that was gold on like 22-inch rims.
Jeez.
And it didn't have a turret in the back, but it was like a tricked out warthog, which was a joke because the warthog was supposed to be like the futuristic Hummer.
Right. Yes.
And at the time, Halo 2 came out in 2004. That's when like Pimp My Ride was big and like the Hummer H2 was actually a car like that you could go out and buy.
Yes, that is true.
Which was a military vehicle adapted for US roads.
Right, exactly. So
very
funny.
Yeah, that was the first video I made.
So very cool. I mean, that you've been. So that's the thing is you've been on it for a long time and you have a ton of videos out there. I mean, that's one of the reasons why
I have
you
well
can make
over 1,000 videos. I might have 1,100 videos.
Well,
just
and
on
that's
one.
and that's part of the reason why you can make a living on that because you have so many out there that are earning money. So whenever they get viewed, so that's great. That's awesome. So would you watch this movie if it was on TV?
Getting back to it, yeah.
So if it was on, would you change the channel?
If it was on, would I change the channel? I don't know.
You have to think about
it's
that.
It's a tough one because, like, for a background movie, it's fun. You look up, you see an R34, you see a bunch of cars, you see a 94 Ford Taurus in the desert. Sure.
Yeah.
You know, it's fine background, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
I wouldn't ever, at least not in the foreseeable future, I wouldn't seek it out.
Okay.
But if it were on, would I change the channel? No, but I also wouldn't stop what I was doing.
All right, I get you.
What about you?
Same thing, really, because if it was on, I'd leave it on, but I probably would not sit down and watch it. I mean, it really is not something where oh, man, I really got to watch this. Oh, this scene was so great, you know.
Right.
It's not something like that. It just really, there was nothing there that I would go, wow, that really grabbed me.
Yeah, I mean, that was the other thing is that, like, how can I boil this movie down? And, like, obviously with, like, Tokyo Drift, the whole parking garage scene, where they're drifting in the parking garage, fantastic.
And
Too Fast, Too Furious, you have the boat scene at the end.
I was going to say the ejectocito, the whole thing.
The Fast and the Furious is the original one is so quotable, so memorable.
Yeah, you know.
This one, well, and we'll talk about even with the next movie, the fifth one with the bank vaults.
Yeah.
Very memorable. They're driving through
Puerto Rico. I think it's Puerto Rico. A city with a bank vault.
Maybe it's Rio de Janeiro.
Behind them.
I can't remember now. But yeah, it's very memorable. This, like, I guess driving through the mountain.
Driving through the mountain was the only thing that I remembered about this movie. That was
But then again, it's so dark, and it's just like they're just driving through old mining tunnels.
Yeah, and
which also, why'd they have to go so quick once they were in the mountain?
Right, exactly. Well, not only that, but then the tunnel inside the mountain got conveniently wider and taller when they needed to have one car pass the other, or when the car flipped into the air.
Yeah.
Inside the tunnel, it was conveniently nicely tall.
Yeah.
And they had plenty of room to flip the car.
And it was convenient that for some reason the border uses cameras on a swivel.
That's right.
That take like a minute. Like, these oscillating cameras.
Wait, it's not done. I'm doing the motor sound.
Yeah.
No, really. And then not only that, but it's nicely lit up actually inside the tunnel. So that was really nice.
Oh,
too.
yeah. They left all the lights on. So.
And I guess because the really stupid FBI and police department could not figure out any of that stuff, and the Border Patrol could not figure out the helicopter.
Yeah.
Like, just drove toward the mountain and then just kind of veered off and said, "Oh, we can't find him. We can't." And the cars, they were
lit
up, lit up, driving away.
I will say, I just remember this scene when they're escaping Mexico.
Yeah,
with Gilbert Godfrey, and he goes, "What does he say?" He was like, "We're gonna be okay, right?" Or like, "We're gonna be fine." And Paul Walker just goes, "Yeah, this is gonna hurt. Yeah, just buckle up."
Oh yeah, he goes. Oh, he says, "You know where the tunnel is."
Oh,
that's
yeah,
what he
yeah.
says. You know where the.
It has gotten so bad now.
You know. I can't do it anymore. I
know you can't do it, but you keep
It's
trying.
So bad. It's so bad. Oh, I'm terrible at
You
doing
nailed it
impressions.
the first time.
I did. I think, but I can't.
Much like Fast and Furious, the first time was great, and it has gotten progressively
and it's gone
worse.
Downhill. It's gone downhill. You're absolutely right. So I won't subject anyone to that anymore because I haven't practiced it. But anyway, it might be the only voice I could possibly do if I practice it. But that's about it. Anyway, I would, like I say, I would not. I'd not turn I would not turn the channel, but I wouldn't sit down and watch it probably because again, there's like nothing that in there that's spectacular, and just the fact that everyone in every scene is good looking, like everyone.
Yeah.
I mean, except for maybe there's two guys driving the Trans Am at the end of the movie. Do you remember that?
Oh yeah,
they might be
great.
they are great. But they're the only non beautiful people in the entire movie.
I also don't know if we ever see them ever.
We don't. We only see them at the very beginning and the very end.
I mean, like in the rest of the series.
Probably not. No.
They might be in the next one.
I don't think so. And then they did that whole thing with what's his face, who was in Tokyo Drift.
Oh yeah, Han.
Han Solo.
Yeah.
Anyway, he's in. It's not Han Solo.
I forgot he was
Han.
in 4. I thought they brought him back for 5.
He is in 4, and he talks to Dominic, and he's like, "You gotta get out of here."
Oh yeah, and he's like, "I heard they're doing cool stuff in Tokyo."
Right. Exactly. Right.
Okay.
Okay. That's I guess a good time. But then he goes and dies in that movie. So how does that all
Well, no,
weave
he's
together?
still in 5 too. He's in the next movie
Is
too.
Is he?
And then he goes and dies.
Oh, okay.
Maybe.
All right.
He might
It's
be
a
in the next
weird,
few.
bizarre,
It's-
twisty,
yeah.
turny. Yeah, that whole Tokyo Drift thing was like.
Yeah, and like a
That's not-
fever dream. It really was.
They should have had like Dominic Toretto waking up in the morning. Oh, that's a weird dream I just had.
Yeah.
I can't do a Dominic Toretto
Yeah.
either. But that's a weird dream I had.
Yeah. Oh god.
Family.
So
Family.
next movie,
Yeah.
Is Fast 5.
Yes.
We'll be doing that next
Yes, absolutely.
week.
Fast 5.
We're halfway. I guess we're halfway through Fast February then.
We are.
Yeah, because we're doing
we did-
4 movies, 4 weekends, 4 Saturdays.
So Fast 5 and then 6 is
I
we're
can't
gonna
remember
get
if
up to
it's
6.
Fast 6, Furious 6, The Fast and the Furious 6.
The Fate of the Furious.
I think it
6,
is Fast
the-
and Furious 6. Then
Yeah.
I think it's Furious 7. Then Fate of the Furious.
And then there was the Fat and the Fabulous. That was a good one. I really liked that
Oh,
one.
jeez. I think the 9th one is called The Fast Saga. And then...
The Empire Strikes Back.
Oh, God.
And then, and then 7 is Electric Boogaloo. I think that was the name.
So thank you guys so much
Yeah.
for listening.
Thank
If you guys are listening on Spotify,
Right.
check it out on YouTube. If you're listening on YouTube, check it out on Spotify.
Yep.
And we'll see you next week with Fast 5.
All right. Bye-bye.